The braids are coming loose. The long skirt gets caught between the legs. There's no time to think. Once she climbs over this fence, there will be no way back, no eternal life, no chances to save her soul. She'll lose her family and secure herself a place in hell. Rebecca is the 19th wife of an elderly prophet on earth. Cameras are all around, watching her every move. Finally, Rebecca reaches the fence and rolls up her skirt. Sit tight and pin back your ears, for we're going to tell you a story so strange you might never guess it happened in modern-day America. The fence surrounds the FLDS Church community of Short Creek, which sits on the border between Utah and Arizona. Outside, it's the 21st century, but behind these walls, people live in another era. They do not watch TV, do not read newspapers, and most women don't have a profession. And how could you possibly study if you've got kids to look after? 10 and even more. The men have several wives each, and some wives are under 16. No one checks with the girls if they want to get married. Since childhood, the FLDS women comply with the community's requirement: be sweet and obey. From birth, Rebecca was groomed to become a good wife. Like most of her fellow church girls, she never set foot outside the community. The life of a fundamentalist Mormon was all she knew. It's not Mom, it's Mother Ruth or Mother Ellis. That is how you should address your mothers here, as there are several in each family. The households are very much like summer camps. Brothers and sisters number dozens. Here, the women wear long dresses and have specific hairdos. They rarely interfere in local matters except for children's upbringing and house chores. Unlike the men, to support the autonomous community, they have to work hard. There are many successful businessmen among the FLDS church members. Teenage and young men often work here for free, a very important factor behind the group's stability. The kids go to the church school, and their religion is centerpiece of education. They do not watch cartoons. They do not even read fairy tales.
Who here has ever heard of Mickey Mouse? Who here has ever heard of Cinderella? Who here has heard of Shrek?
Our story here began much earlier than Oprah's visit. Rebecca knows nothing of fairy tales just yet. For now, she's learned to sew and play the violin. One day, her father took her to the church prophet and president, Old Rulon. By the time, the man had 18 wives, and that evening, he decided to get himself a 19th, Rebecca. She was 19. He was 85. The girl had no idea about intimacy. These things were not taught in the community, even in general. But old Rulon turned out to be quite knowledgeable and expected the new wife to satisfy his appetites. Later, she'd say it was sexual abuse. By the turn of the 20th century, Mormons were still practicing plural marriage, but soon enough, the tradition was banned. As one would expect, some followers refused to give it up. A group of so-called fundamentalists was excommunicated. They called themselves the Fundamentalist Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, or FLDS. The small ranching town of Short Creek became their stronghold. This place is far from civilization, with no one to stop the FLDS followers from living by their own laws. It sits right between Utah and Arizona, so the community's people could flee the police raids by simply crossing the state border. As for the contact with the outside world, the FLDS followers totally rejected the idea. You could climb over the fence, technically, but for most community members, escape would equal death. A spiritual one, at least. You'd enter the world of disgrace and evil and die in the forthcoming apocalypse. When Rulon had a stroke, Warren, one of his 62 children, gradually assumed the duties. Even though the old prophet was to become young again, he actually died in a very human way in September of 2002. Warren hastily claimed the prophet status and started marrying his father's wives. Rebecca was in no hurry to wed again, but Warren insisted. He gave her a week to be remarried. When the woman refused, Jeffs glared at her with the eyes of a snake and said, "You've had too much freedom. I will break you." Rebecca was not the only one who felt the pressure. Warren was tightening the screws on everything. First, he prohibited floral prints on the dresses, and then the color red. "You're not sweet enough," in red. In public, Rebecca tried to keep it sweet. She wore white. Every morning she arranged her hair in a specific way. A tiresome routine, but what can you do? It's the only one allowed. Your hair should be long. You have to wear it rolled up over your forehead in a pompadour fashion. On the back of your head, you can make various braids. Rebecca followed the local style, but her doubts persisted. Is there really another way of life? The thought itself seemed sinful. Meanwhile, the community got its own CCTV system installed, and then her sister and best friend Elisa was assigned to a husband. She was only 14. Rebecca's doubts finally outweighed. She marked her time till Sunday morning when security was lax. She walked right under the cameras, no other way around. Then she rolled up her skirt and climbed over the fence. It was as if she made it to some exotic country. The world beyond her community borders was absolutely alien. But Rebecca pulled through. She moved to Oregon and took a job at a restaurant. She continued to sew and play the violin. By that time, 14-year-old Elisa was already married to a cousin she hated. Her wedding was not a happy event.
I just started to sob and tears just streaming down my face. The front of my wedding dress just got more and more soaked.
When you're sealed in this holy law, you give yourself unto God by giving yourself unto your husband. You cannot escape the responsibility.
The girl was utterly clueless as to what happens on a wedding night. The next day, Elisa, angry and offended, went to Warren. She hoped he'd understand he made a mistake by marrying her to Alan. He'd punish her husband and free her from the wedlock. Sure thing, the conversation ended quite differently. Elisa miscarried when she was 14 and 15. It goes without saying that no one could choose themselves a spouse in the community. Only the prophet knows who you belong to, and he gets the bride if he wishes to. Warren alone could arrange marriages in Short Creek. Since several women are assigned to one man, what do you do with the rest of the male population? Get rid of them, obviously. Many boys are expelled from the community, especially if your brain works properly. You'd be the first one out. In 2004, Warren banished those who displayed independence and annulled their marriages. "We've got benevolent dictatorship here," he said. As for benevolence, well, that's a stretch, but he was absolutely right about the dictatorship.
I knew that to sustain a polygamous community on the industrial level, like down in Short Creek, you have to have almost like Stalinistic social architecture in place to make it work.
In 2005, Rebecca finally got some good news. Elisa ran away from the church with a man she fell in love with. Elisa was 17. Rebecca dialed her number. This call would mark the beginning of the end for Warren Jeffs. It was no easy feat to persuade her sister to talk to the police, to testify against Warren, a girl who was taught to praise her prophet since birth. How could she agree to that? By that time, Warren had smelled trouble and fled Short Creek. While he was on the run, his followers started setting up a ranch in Texas and building themselves a temple. This yearning for Zion ranch was supposed to become something of a paradise, or a human farm. Only the purest, the most righteous people were allowed in there. That is, the most loyal followers or innocent little children. And here we have a can of sauce. In cans like this, Warren's people smuggled money to him, and he had a good reason to hide. Rulon Jeffs became one of the FBI's most wanted fugitives. August 28, 2006 was the last day the criminal enjoyed his freedom. He was pulled over by a trooper on Interstate 15 north of Las Vegas. And Elisa did testify.
When I was 14, I told Warren, I said, I know you have told me to get married. My heart is telling me that this is not what is right for me right now. It's telling me that it's wrong. And he came right out and he said, well, your heart is in the wrong place. This is your duty.
Warren was convicted on 2 counts of rape as an accomplice, and even then he continued to rule his church from behind bars. He would call his followers and they would follow him on speakerphones and listen to him. It was all the same as before. Besides, Warren would be out in 10 years. In the FLDS community, young girls were still sexually assaulted. To stop the crime, you have to prove it. But where do you get the evidence? A white building between cacti in the middle of a desert. It stands out in aerial photography like a sore thumb. In April 2008, police officers went inside the FLDS temple for the first time and got to the 4th floor. The interior was thoroughly white. Behind a curtain, they saw a room with some kind of altar. In fact, it was a high, custom-made bed. When Rebecca still lived in the FLDS community, Rulon used to keep the records on his wives in a secret room. There had to be a place like that in Texas too, Rebecca thought, so she and Elisa went there together with the police to help communicate with Warren's followers. But their communication was a failure. The FLDS church members never agreed to the search. Even so, the upstairs white room was unlocked, and downstairs the officers actually found a hiding place with an archive. Computers, discs, papers, photos. The Lord is pressing upon my mind to take another young girl. From Rulon Jeffs' notes. Here were audio records of heavenly sessions that Warren conducted with his many wives in the White Room. That's what he'd call his intimate relationships. However, is it even a relationship if it's not consensual? On one such tape, you could hear a 14-year-old girl. Then there's another tape of a 12-year-old. In 2011, the jury heard both audio recordings in court. And yes, it was the second trial on which Rebecca would testify. She knew the 12-year-old girl from the tape, and she came to the hearings dressed in red. Warren got his full share now. He was sentenced to life. According to the prosecutors, he arranged the marriages of 67 underage girls. He had 78 wives of his own, 24 of them underage. After what happened, some followers left the church. Bit by bit, short creeks started opening to the outside world. But to this day, some people abide by the laws of the FLDS and consider Rulon Jeffs their prophet. Rebecca Wall Musser is surely not one of them.
I love, love, love to hike, and the opportunity to challenge yourself, to take that next step, even though it's steep, even though it hurts, because the views at the top are absolutely stunning.
Elisa married the man she fell in love with. She's a mother of 2. She also supervises an online store for punk baby clothing. Rebecca has 2 children as well. She became a known human rights activist, and she often wears red. Thanks for watching our video till the end, guys. We're a new channel, and your support will help a lot. Please like, subscribe, and above all, stay safe.